In the Oscar room, we have another concurrent session upstairs. So if you look at the program guide, you'll see the art of the new buzz, and from mobile networks to mobile networking. So we're going to start these sessions in a few moments. Keep in mind there's also one upstairs in the Oscar room.
All right, we're about to start here. We're trying to get one of the slides up here for a little bit of research I'm going to present. But while we're working on that, I want to get the panel started so we don't lose any time. My name is Jerry Philpott. I'm President and CEO of Market Research. We're a full-service market research firm which specializes in the media and entertainment industry and service many of the companies that are here today. And what this panel about is the changing face of video on demand. And I'm not sure it really ever had a face. I looked at it basically on simple VOD, which was the VCR, people able to tape and actually start to watch things on their own time when they wanted to. We'll reboot, but I'll get to the presentation in a little bit. But what I'd like to do is introduce our panel to my immediate, my immediate left, your left as well, Sean Besser, who's Vice President, Business Development with MovieLink. Next to him, Peter Bradley, who is Vice President, Business Development, Azurius, correct? Rick Phillips, General Manager, Entertainment and Devices Division within the Media and Entertainment Group at Microsoft. Rob Schoenfeld, Vice President, Pay Television, Interactive Media, Buena Vista Television, and at the end, Brad Singer, Executive Vice President, Payment One. What I'd like each of the panelists to do is to give you a little brief elevator pitch of who they are, so put this into perspective, and then we can go from there. We'll start with Sean.
Hi. MovieLink, if you're not familiar with it, is, at least last I read, a joint venture of 5 of the major studios, Warner Brothers, Paramount, Universal, Sony, and MGM. And we were founded nearly 5 years ago to create the downloadable video space, at least the legal downloadable video space. Launched a direct-to-consumer rental product in November 2002 with our 5 owners, subsequently added Fox and Disney so that we had all of the majors, and over time have grown our offering to include most of the mid-majors and minors and television content and international fare, so that we have a full suite of video offerings, as well as giving consumers the choice of whether to rent or buy movies, and are soon going to be rolling out the availability to download and burn movies DVD. Historically, we've been the leader in the space with respect to driving the technology developments as well as the content.
Hi, my name is Peter Bradley. I represent a company called Azurius. Azurius is one of the world's largest video platforms on the web. We have 140 million users with a growth rate of about 2 million users a month. We combined amateur and independent filmmakers with major broadcast content partners as well. We are also the first company to combine high-definition HD content with social networking.
My name is Rick Phillips. I'm General Manager in the Media and Entertainment Group at Microsoft Corporation. Hello, can you hear me? Hi, I'm Rick Phillips. I'm the General Manager in the Media and Entertainment Group at Microsoft Corporation. We're part of the Entertainment and Devices Division, which is the consumer-facing part of Microsoft. We're responsible for selling the software that Windows and Office make, as well as our gaming and video business. That includes the Xbox 360, games like Halo, as well as Xbox Live, which is a subscription service that's available on to all of our Xbox users. Recently, we started a service called Xbox Live Video Marketplace, which offers movies on a on-demand basis from some of the major studios in both high definition and standard definition, as well as television content from a number of major content licensors.
Rob Schoenfeld from Buena Vista Television. Buena Vista Television is the domestic television distribution arm of Walt Disney Company. We distribute all of the movies across all of the major production labels of the company in every window beyond home video. So we do hotels, pay-per-view, VOD, pay TV, mobile, broadband, and so on. And then we do the same thing for the ABC Television Network and television shows produced by the ABC Television Group in all of their windows beyond initial network television. I'm the VP of Pay TV and Interactive Media, so I spend most of my time with the movies from the studio and with our pay television and VOD clients.
Hi, I'm Brad Singer from Payment One. We're a payment service provider, so we're in the business of helping companies like these make sure the consumer always has a way to pay that they choose. We have a particular focus on digital content merchants and non-credit cards. So we've typically billed in the last 2 years about $2 billion of digital content for merchants like these, using methods such as allowing the consumer to put it on their broadband account, put it on their mobile bill, put it on their phone bill. And we find significant pent-up demand for consumers who would otherwise not complete a purchase if they had to use a credit card.
All right, luckily we got the computer working here. I have about 6 slides I'm going to show you, which will hopefully put the face on the consumer that you've been hearing about all day today. This was a study we conducted a month ago. 1,200 users, 13 plus, who watch video on devices other than their television. So these are people who are obviously using everything from computers to iPods to portable devices. In this first slide, as probably a surprise to no one, young men are the predominant users of video away from the television. And of course, younger people to 17 and 18 to 24 and 25 to 34. They're obviously the first movers. This should be no surprise to anyone in this group here or on the panel. What's interesting is that the non-TV viewing, the most common is on the desktop computer, followed by laptop, and then pretty evenly split up among portable devices, iPods, cell phones, and other MP3 players. This is where you start to see some consistency between men and women, on these other devices. And then what the age groups of people predominantly using portable video devices are somewhat older adults, which is where, if you can think about from the DVD group here, all those box TV sets, if you've ever been on a plane, you're seeing everyone our age group watching Seinfeld on their computers on airplanes. And then the spike on the left with the younger kids is parents giving those kids those devices to keep them quiet in the cars. From there, though, you could see that the iPod is the rapid growth among the young users, and these are users who are watching video on their iPod, not just music listeners. Then it goes to cell phone and other MP3 players. What's interesting is when you start to see the young adoption and young adult adoption of devices beyond the computer, it puts into some interesting questions. We can answer this later on about companies like YouTube and others that are predominantly driving the traffic on the web. How will these types of businesses migrate to portable devices where there'll be, in some cases, enclosed gardens of what people can buy and use? And essentially, again, this also illustrates the question about when people migrate more iPods and cell phones. Right now, iPod, the video is music videos, movies, and TV programs. Traditional TV programs are their content of choice, and is starting to look that way with cell phone, where obviously on desktop and laptop computers, videos from websites, the YouTubes and Break.coms or whatever, are dominating their video usage. And one of the questions that we've been asked by a lot of our clients is, are people going to be migrating content from the computer to their television set? One of the things that was interesting is I was on a panel in 1999 about how younger people were going to permanently move away from the television and watch everything on their computer. And we're now asking those people who were 24, who are now 31, what's their primary viewing habit, and it's the television. So there has to be some analysis at some point about when, you got 13 and 17-year-olds who generally watch content and do things very much themselves, and if they're out with friends, versus families and couples and roommates who tend to aggregate more and can't watch a small screen. So there's some demographic interest here as well. And lastly, the most interesting was of those people who would like to learn how to migrate content from the computer to the TV, it's pretty high among all categories, especially among the 25 to 45-year-old age group, which is a target television audience. So, and we've asked if there were some low barriers to that with technology or easy devices, the adoption rate was even higher. So these are some things to think about. And what I'd like to throw out to the panel is, given some of these demographics and given that each one of you have different business models, what's the critical mass that each one of you need in your business to be a success? I'll start with Sean.
I'm not sure there's a set number to say what the critical mass is, but it's first about making the product compelling enough so that there is mass appeal. And your slides really touched on that a few years ago it was how to get content onto the PC. Now it's how to get content off the PC. Because for us, one of our key initiatives is enabling flexibility for people to be able to watch our content wherever they want, whenever they want. And it's why we have deals in place so that you can watch MovieLink content on televisions, either through network-enabled set-top boxes or through digital adapters or through cables, however you want to, as well as relationships and types of content available so that you can watch our content on other types of devices, whether it's portable viewing devices or other types of media players beyond your traditional PC.
Peter.
Sure, I think that getting to the television set is a hurdle that we all share here. It definitely is, as we look at longer form, going beyond a YouTube experience, we're really looking at what we call a lean back experience. I put on a film, I sit on my sofa, and I zone out. And so that definitely is an important barrier for us to overcome, especially for Azurius, because we're focused on HD content. So that plays even more of a larger role in that sense, because people have these large plasma screen TVs, and they're finding it very difficult until the studios make up their mind about DVD formats, to find a wealth of HD content that they can play on demand.
The connection to the TV set is critical, and happily we are typically, in all cases, connected to the TV and generally to high-definition sets. So what that means is we have seen incredible usage of the high-definition content we offer. High-def outsells standard definition movies, and it also leads to greater unit sales of every VOD title we have, i.e. If HD is available as well as SD, more total units will sell than just SD. So, we love where we sit for the kind of lean back programming that Pete mentioned in terms of television and movies. We do think viewing on devices is important as well for different content. What our research has shown to date is that there is no video device on the market right now that is really compelling to consumers other than the DVD players that exist today.
For us, it's not so much a question of critical mass, because we already have a critical mass in VOD distribution. For us, it's cannibalization issues. It's maximizing the revenue across our different businesses and across our platforms. And then specifically, as we look at video on demand on some of these emerging platforms, like the company sitting at this table, it's really about whether or not the size of the opportunity warrants the incremental workload on the company to do a deal with an emerging new company that maybe will generate $10,000 or $20,000 a year. At a company like Disney, it would cost us a lot more than $10,000 or $20,000 to fill that deal. So for us, it's really about looking at these platforms, looking at these companies, and as they reach critical mass, finding the right time for us to participate, and in some instances, making a strategic investment at those early stages to help them grow into the company that we think will succeed.
Are you placing a lot of bets now? Because I just about every studio is essentially licensing deals with almost all products with all people. Anytime you run into anyone at a mobile conference or anyone, they've got some licensing deal with some studio product. And like you said, there's a point of cannibalization, but also placing bets. Because an off-net cable deal will be $1 million an episode or higher versus whatever you're getting on a licensing arrangement. Are you placing lots of bets now, or is it something that you're just being very cautious about?
A little of both. The way we view it is that lots of bets is not the right answer. But certainly if there's a company that has something unique, whether or not it is that they have high-speed broadband delivered to a television set, which is something unique, whether or not they have a large installed customer base, whether or not they have a unique distribution architecture. If there's something new and exciting or something that we can learn a lot from, we're there. If it's just another company, very much like a company we already have a deal with, we're a little bit more guarded. So we have a distribution deal right now to do video on demand on your cell phone. You can rent a Disney movie on your Sprint cell phone through spot. That certainly is not going to stack up against our traditional cable revenues, but it's interesting, it's new, it's a unique consumer value proposition, and so we place that bet. And so we're going to continue to take more of those careful strategic bets, but we're certainly not taking a shotgun approach.
Okay. Brad, critical mass?
Yeah, again, we come at it from a little different angle, trying to enable the transaction to be easy for the consumer. I'll share one data point that may be relevant. We take a survey each year. This is the 4th year we've done it, asking consumers, if it was easier and safer to buy online digital services, would you buy more? And the last 3 or 4 years, it's been low, mid-70s. This year it was 80%. 80% of the people said if it was easier and safer for me to buy digital stuff online, I would buy more. So our role and our critical mass really is the example where you're sitting on your couch, you're surfing the internet on the big 65-inch, and you find a piece of content to buy. You probably don't want to get up and find your credit card and type in 21 numbers. You probably want to have an easy ability to charge it to your account, perhaps your broadband account that is powering that 65-inch. So our critical mass continues to be, lots of people making it whatever is the appropriate choice of payment at the point of consumption.
One of the things I was realizing that we're in an area now of TiVo kids. I have a 6-year-old who we were in the car the other day and we heard something, and she said, "Dad, turn that back." It hurt. She's grown up with nothing but whenever you rewind it, fast forward it, push this button. So this is what we're facing. So to me, the three areas of success in business is critical mass, reaching that, the convenience factor, and the content. So I'd like to now focus on convenience. That was brought up in the session earlier. There's going to be tons of video choices. You could do these panels for weeks and not touch every. What are each one of your companies doing to focus on the convenience aspect of your business?
We recognize that everybody has different consumption patterns, and the same people have different consumption patterns on different nights. Tonight I may want to watch my movie on my big screen at home. Tomorrow, if I'm on a plane somewhere, I'm going to want to watch it on my laptop, or on Saturday, if I'm out with the kids, want to be able to let them watch it there. And MovieLink is working to enable all of these devices, both through flexibility with the rights that we give with the content. So when you buy a movie from us today, you can watch it on up to 3 different devices. We give you 3 licenses, and you can watch it on a portable device. You can watch it on your laptop. If your TV is networked, you can watch it on that. Additionally, we are integrating with different networks and devices to try and optimize the number of touch points where you can access MovieLink. AT&T is one of our most public partnerships, and they have a set-top box, their home zone set-top box, that we're the movie provider for, so you can sit in your living room and watch it there. They're also in the process of integrating cell phones into that offering, so you can be in a meeting or at the water cooler and talk about a movie or TV show with a coworker, and right there from your cell phone get the download for it, whether it's directly to your cell phone or to your set-top box. That's still a process there. But the key is enable flexibility for consumers by expanding the rights with the content and integrating into as many devices as possible.
Well, I think for Azurius, we've looked at improving the technology, obviously, to make it more convenient. But the real emphasis of what we do is to focus on the intangible elements. Azurius grew to 120 million users without a website, largely through social networking. Friends telling friends, creating what we call magnet links back to content. And what this does, it allows people to post links to their content in these social networking groups. So if they're a big Doctor Who fan and they have the world's greatest Doctor Who fan site, they can add our links to that, and that would automatically start the content downloading. So the convenience is there in the sense of the UI and the technology, but it also expands beyond that in the way that the way content peppers itself through the internet, through other destinations other than just Azurius.
Speaking specifically about our Xbox Live service, we've focused on convenience by having a very easy-to-use interface and a very simple-to-use service for the content that we offer. Going forward, we want to move beyond simply the Xbox as an endpoint to enable the use of content on other devices as well, whether it's portable devices, whether it's phones, computers. We need to work with the licensors to do that. But in the interim, from a convenience point of view, we also want to push the envelope a bit on some of the usage models that studios offer today. Disney's actually very much sort of ahead of the curve in offering a longer than 24-hour viewing window on VOD. We'd like other studios to move there as well, especially as we are a download offering. And if you're downloading HD, it can take a couple minutes to do so on the average connection. So we think that there are some immediate areas to improve the consumer experience and increase the convenience, and then more opportunities in the future as we enable a more robust device ecosystem, and also hopefully simplify the payment, so a consumer is not paying multiple times to watch the same content, as in licensing something either on a VOD basis or on a subscription basis from one of the movie services, as well as purchasing a DVD.
For us, it's twofold. It's what Rick initially mentioned. We're looking to do things like extending the viewing period on VOD. Most importantly is we're looking at changing the windows, and we have changed the windows. We have the VOD windowing in the industry, with a fair proportion of our slate at 15 days post-DVD, with an industry average that is still in between 30 and 45 days. So to us, that's the biggest thing about convenience, is getting that movie to the consumer faster. And then the second thing is just making sure that as these different ways to consume content arise, that we evaluate them appropriately and put our content on those platforms, like the iPod, at the right time, so can enjoy our content in the way that they want.
Our focus in some sense is kind of looking at history on the physical retail brick and mortar side, where you go to Walmart or a furniture dealer or a car dealer, and there's always 10 or 12 ways to pay: layaway, store a card, cash, check, etc. So what we're about, as I've said, is online, making sure that the consumer has the appropriate set of choices in terms of how they can pay. A lot of the segments that the videos obviously targeted, as you saw from the data, is youth segments or others that either don't have or can't use a credit card. So we just want to make sure that they always have a way to pay, and they're not walking away because they can't provide the merchant their money.
One of the things that came up in the focus group at lunch was some of the kids, they don't watch television, and there's a lot of doomsayers out there. I don't know if anyone on this panel would benefit from television going down, but we were involved in a study 2 years ago when the concern movie attendance, movie box office numbers were plummeting, and it was an exaggeration because in last year 2006 was over 2005. This year 2007, with the big tent poles coming back this year, will probably surpass 2006. So given the fact that all these entertainment forms can commingle, what do you think of the future of television and the on-demand with television? And do you think the web-based and mobile devices will actually improve video on demand, since I think the cable companies have not quite taken advantage of the digital platform they have? I'll open that up to anyone who wants to comment.
Well, I don't think the internet's necessarily going to do away with television as we know it today. I think that it does give consumers a lot more options. And it also, as we heard from the last speaker, it also gives options for young creative talent to come out and demonstrate skills. It's going to be very conceivable that on one of these independent film platforms, we're going to find the next Blair Witch Project. We're going to find lots of interesting projects out there, including it may be a pilot for a television series, that if they demonstrate enough success online, they will generate the interest of the studios and of the mass market. Another side of that coin is that we're working with some content providers today that have mainstream content, but they're interested in what its popularity would be around the world. So if they see a spike in downloads off our service in, say, New Zealand, for example, they know that New Zealand offers an interesting opportunity to send their affiliate salespeople down, as well as to send their home video salespeople down, because we've demonstrated that there's interest in that marketplace.
Just a comment, it amazes me, my 13-year-old, as a family, will watch, you know, in the family room, and he could be sitting there watching the iPod on, you know, a 2x2. And I think, you know, as you pointed out from the data, it's different consumption habits. And to me, one of the questions is, do you get back to the behavior where it's really a gathering, an aggregated event, where it's multiple people watching an event, interacting, or is the 13-year-old sitting on the other side of the room watching a 2x2, which, you know, probably a lot of us wouldn't even stand for. So I think it's both the programming content and the expectations of behavior. Are there going to be, you know, 5 people in a family sitting there with an iPod next generation watching their own individual content, or is it back to kind of a family aggregated event where it's, you know, it's more than the content, it's the experience of the group?
I think many of us agree that video on demand is going to usher in a lot of great new options for consumers, but at the same time, it's important to remember what it is that funds so much of the programming one sees today, which is advertising. So clearly there's a lot of work to be done before we get to video on demand, which is not only on a pay-per-title basis at $3.99 or $4.99 or $5.99, whatever it is, but is also supported by advertising, by subscription, and some of that's going to take a long time to evolve given the windows and the licensing models that exist today. But you know, I think there's a wealth of opportunity both for the licensors to use technology to more efficiently manage windows and exploit opportunities, and for consumers as well to enjoy the content they want to see sooner, or where they want to see it, or in multiple places.
On a paid on-demand level, you know, there's a much greater definition of what ROI is. You know, and right now we're heading into and you got a broadcast network as your parent that's going to try to sell advertising on an old CPM model, but now you're looking at a on-demand model that can show, you know, specific sales and specific dollar amounts each month. How much is that going to impact the future of the studio business and how everyone plays in that on-demand world?
Yeah, that's the question. Separating movies from television, because they behave very differently in all these on all these platforms. We're going to have to very carefully balance that trade-off. As soon as we get to a model where television is purely on demand, it's going to become very, very difficult to launch new series. Right now, you launch new series based on scheduled tune-in and something riding on the back. If we want to launch a new series, best place to put it is after Grey's Anatomy. Going to a world where Grey's Anatomy isn't on at 9 p.m. on Thursdays, it's on whenever you want it, it's going to become that much more difficult to launch. So I think the entire television landscape is going to change over time. I don't know what it's going to change into, but it is inevitable, and we have to be really careful as we manage that trade-off. Movies are different. The television window for a movie is one of its last windows. Certainly the free television window for a movie it's very close to the end. The last thing we want to do is accelerate the free window on a movie. It's sort of you know, business 101. Start with your market, exploit it, and sort of move down the line. Once you go free, it's very difficult to make something no longer free. So for us, I think that, again, free on-demand models certainly have promise. We have to be very careful what content we put in those models and how quickly we do that. And again, the problem is that if you start getting into a place where movies start making less money, aside from the fact that that's bad for our shareholders, the movie business is not a high ROI business. The movie business is a, you know, in a good year, 6, 7, 8% ROI business. Sorry, so even in a good year when that's your ROI, and you have a movie like Pirates of the Caribbean and that does really well, and you have a couple of other movies that don't do so well, it's the value in all these downstream windows and the value that you can make off a blockbuster that funds the portfolio business that is the movies. So as much as everyone talks about that what's in the best interest of the consumer on demand and let them have whatever they want, whenever they want it, quickly and for free and without paying for it, in the long run, that's not in the best interest of the consumer, because if we're not making the right money on it, we won't be able to afford to produce movies like Pirates of the Caribbean or Chronicles of Narnia or any of these very large, big budget films.
Any follow-ups on that? I'm sure many of you heard about the book, The Long Tail, and I find that interesting because you need this giant head to feed this long tail. Disney's got the head, and MovieLink is tied in with companies like that. How do some of these smaller people who think they're going to survive in a video-on-demand world with user-generated content, with startups, with some of these, I'm going to put it up there and get found, you know, is there really a future in that business, or do you think it's ultimately going to come back to the giants running, feeding the small tail?
I mean, to me, I think that the thing that user-generated content in sites like YouTube have really shown me is the definition of a television network. ABC, NBC, CBS, these are basically filters. It's people who are viewed, right, wrong, or otherwise, as experts in what is or isn't good television, making the decision, putting it up there for you, and someone has then screened it for you, so that you're not looking at 1,000 different series every fall. You're looking at new series on each network, and even there, 1 or 2 of them, if they're lucky, will work and the other 3 won't. With user-generated content, the problem becomes, what is that filter? So I don't see it ever replacing branded content, let's say. The network may go away, the brand behind the network I don't think will, and I think there's a lot of value in professional filters. I think new professional filters will emerge online, and certainly in a one-on-one basis. You could have a Quentin channel, and he could be the brand that is deciding what content is or isn't good, and people with similar tastes will watch that content. But the idea that, you know, hundreds of thousands of new pieces of user-generated content end up online every month and or every day even, and that's where all this is going to come from. I think the typical piece of video that ends up on YouTube has a couple of minutes to make it or break it before it drops off of the newly added list and moves into the most or anything like that. So it's a very difficult hurdle for that user-generated content to surpass.
In the on-demand business, there's a couple of behemoths that have laid down the gauntlet with Amazon.com and their offering, and with Walmart and their intended offering. For all the various panelists, do you see them as partners or competitors, and do you see them helping improve the content and the variety of the business, or narrowing it? I'll start with Sean.
We definitely see them as competitors, but at the same time, they're friendly competitors in a certain respect. First of all, they've validated our business model and this distribution platform. For a long time, it was us. Cinema Now was also there with us, but it was a very small marketplace and wasn't getting the attention of a lot of people, or really reaching the masses. The Walmarts and the Amazons of this world help bring the awareness level to a much greater level. And while in some respects they're definitely, because they're selling many of the same wares, their goals are different in many respects. And so there may be benefits out of their competition, both sort of the rising tides raising boats, but as well as other companies that aren't looking to directly enter the space, but wanting to play in this world, make for fantastic partners for us. And whether that's the distribution companies like the AT&Ts and the Verizons and the Yahoos we have deals with, or retailers that we're exploring deals with as well, they make for some great opportunities for us as well.
Peter?
Well, in full disclosure, I should say that my last startup was bought by Walmart, which is now their video store. So I think that we've seen similar things happen in the music industry. Walmart's had a music offering for quite some time, as have some of the other heavy hitters that are out there, such as Yahoo and Microsoft. And in the music space, what we saw was the creation of iTunes as the obvious dominant player in mainstream music, and the second largest player out there didn't have any mainstream music content. And then all the other ones, like Walmart and such, are further down the list. And I think what we learned there was that, you know, the middle tail is what I would like to call it, not the long tail. Content has value, meaning it's professionally produced, it's well done, as does the mainstream Hollywood content. But if you go price to price or place to place and they all have the same content, you wind up getting into a fight over, you know, pennies to the user and who has the device that connects to that service. And I think that's what really we discovered in music. So we don't see Walmart or Cinema Now or MovieLink or any of these other services being direct competitors to us. We see them really as a place where people can go and buy these pieces of content. But the pricing is so structured that it's the same product at the same price no matter where you shop. So we're focused more into that middle tier content. And, you know, that would be, I would draw an analogy there with magazine publishing. There was a time when all magazines were focused on mainstream issues and mainstream content. I think we remember things like Life and Look magazine. Well, today magazines are very much focused on the middle tier category. I buy a particular foreign automobile magazine because that's what I'm interested in, and I think that's the area in which we're playing.
They're both partners and competitors at this point, but I think it's more important actually to focus on how we can work with key retailers like that, as well as with the content owners. DVDs, for example, are a critically important part of the revenue stream that funds movies. There needs to be a managed transition of some form to digital copies. You can't ignore DVDs in that equation, or retailers like Walmart and Amazon.
Yeah, absolutely. To us, they're all customers or potential customers. None of them are our competitors, so to speak. But again, to echo what Rick said, the challenge with us in dealing with those kinds of companies vis-a-vis the new ones is managing the transition from digital.
Yeah, and in terms of kind of the either or of some of the panelists have touched on, if you look back on the publishing, you mentioned the publishing, you know, 15, 20 years ago, people like the Wall Street Journal and Dow Jones were scared out of their minds to put their own content online, and it ended up, they put it online and it generated more hard copy sales. So I mean, I think a similar thing happened in that industry where, like say, the trusted brands, the Hollywood, the Wall Street Journals, the Hollywood, if you will, of that industry still have a strong place in the marketplace, as do the thousands of other sources of blogs where you can get a slice of life on the financial community. So I think it is a coexistent with the strong brands having kind of value in their own media, as well as some of these new medias complementing them.
I have one more question, then we'll open up to the group here with the remaining minutes we have. Obviously, a lot of the sites like YouTube are essentially ad-supported. You know, there's only so much money a cat chasing a laser is going to generate, you know, for someone to pay for it. But, you know, given the fact that our numbers show, and I'd like to, you know, hear from you and your numbers, that it is a younger demographic driving the on-demand business, beyond the ad-supported business, which is going to, as always, go to the top, you know, 2 or 3% of the sites that are running it. Is there going to be money for these teens in the early 20s to spend on a number of subscription services, one for their phone, one for online, one for another device? You know, are they going to fund the business beyond advertising?
I think it's all about providing value to the consumers. There's a fair bit of disposable income out there, but obviously a finite amount, and consumers, especially kids, are going to make some critical choices. So it's all about designing a service that either complements some of their existing subscriptions or is a must-have, so they have to spend the money on a new service.
First, in response to what you said, I would say that there's absolutely the money there, because while these teenagers aren't making money, their parents both are, and they have an endless pocketbook sometimes, it appears, to get access to money, and no foundation of reality in which to base their spending habits on. So they just spend, 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 and it's been proven. They have no bills, no rent, nothing. However, I would challenge part of your premise there, and because I wouldn't say that all the spending is coming from teenagers. In certain demographics it is. Music videos and music and a lot of these areas are, but our spending patterns are a little bit different sometimes, and it actually skews a little bit older. We're finding that these teenagers, they're the people that are stealing the content. They have no problem going to BitTorrent or LimeWire or somewhere like that and downloading legally. It's once they gain that respect of the dollar and the law that they start to turn to legal channels of distribution. I see him, this guy in the front, smiling at his son. that they come to a movie link and are willing to pay for it. And it's about keeping honest people and honest. And we're finding that as the teenagers are growing up into 20-somethings and 30-somethings, that they're very comfortable consuming online, and that's just going to continue to grow.
I can't believe we went through this whole panel and we didn't use the three-lettered word, which is DRM. And I think that, you know, there's opposing forces out here. There's the content owners and the consumer. From a content owner's perspective, they're concerned with, you know, protecting their copyright and making sure that they're monetizing their product and it's not being pirated. From a consumer's perspective, they're thinking, I bought this product, therefore I should have the ability to put it on or on my iPod or on my DVD player. And I think there's a friction there that is coming, and I don't necessarily believe that users will buy the same episode on multiple platforms. I think there's going to have to be a give and take between consumer demand and what the copyright owners are concerned about.
Any other comments?
I mean, if you look at the MMOG segment, the game segment, I think what you find is, whether it's youth or a lot of the non-youth segments, are paying $10 to $20 a month to play a very engaging, compelling experience online. And the lesson I learned from that, at least, is that forms of entertainment that are made for the media, which obviously the MMOG is you know, right on there, where you're interacting, it's a community, you're interacting with other users, based on your experiences across the medium, that as the medium of video that's made for the devices and the internet becomes more interactive, you may have more of an appetite to pay. But there has been significant millions and billions of dollars being spent across segments like the MMOG. So I think there's promise there. It's just got to be a compelling, unique experience.
All right, we have a few minutes before we wrap up. Are there any questions in the audience that we can bring a microphone to? If you do have a question, stand up. Yeah.
You did touch on it a little bit. I'm curious, how is it that you managed to figure out, I mean, is your system of protecting the content from piracy and redistribution bulletproof? How is it that you figured out VOD, that you can deliver it to someone and play it and it vanishes, whereas other sites, online networking sites, Hollywood studios are really concerned about once their stuff, it's going to run all over the place, it's going to go viral. I mean, how is it are you confident that you fixed the problem once the VOD is not going anywhere? I'm just curious to see how you handle it.
Sure, I'm not sure if you're speaking to me or... Okay.
I'd say there is no bulletproof security. Everything's been hacked. DVDs are hacked the day they hit the street. They're actually hacked a few weeks before that as the previews come out. The day after a movie hits the theaters, sometimes earlier, they're with a camcorder and it's out there. To a certain extent, we're in the business of keeping honest people honest and trying to create this new distribution platform so that people who want to get a digital copy of something and watch it on their TV, their computer, their phone, whatever the next big viewing device is, have the ability to do that and aren't sort of pushed or feel that they're pushed to illegal channels so that they can get their hands on it. Crooks are going to always be crooks, and they're going to find ways to steal things. And hackers take great pride at hacking things the day they come out. It took, what, 3 days for Vista to get hacked. And so that's just going to happen, and security is going to always be playing a game of catch-up there. But as long as you create a compelling product with real value to it, I think honest people want to stay honest.
Did Peter, do you have an answer on that? Or?
I would tend to agree, and in many ways we're forced to apply levels of security based upon our licensing agreements. But we know from market research that non-DRM content, especially if it's a content provider you've never heard of, is going to be much more warmly received if it doesn't have the hurdles that DRM puts in place for it.
I guess the last thing I'd add is that obviously we are very familiar with DRM. We produce some that's used by major content licensors all over the world. We view it as critically important. The library value of video is very different than the library value of music, and the notion of unprotected traditional programming, i.e. films and television, is clearly one that the major content owners haven't supported. That said, I think we as an industry can improve on ensuring that is invisible to the consumer and working toward interoperability. So the consumer, again, really is not aware of whether the content's protected or not.
So as a content owner, we require DRM in every deal that we do. And everything everyone else said here is spot on. What I would add is that DRM is one prong of a multi-pronged strategy to keep honest people honest and to keep the content protected and paying for it. There are other things as well. The movie that you buy on a Blu-ray DVD with Dolby digital sound and high def and bonus materials and extras is a superior product to even the high def movie that you would download illegally. There's no question. So what we have to keep doing is keep making the legitimate product superior to the pirated product to encourage people to buy that product. And then the other thing, going back to the beginning, convenience. If I buy a Blu-ray DVD, I can take it home, put it in my machine, and watch a fantastic movie immediately. If I want to download an illegal high-definition copy of a movie, it might take 2 or 3 days. Some people might rather spend the $15 and not wait 3 days to get that movie. So there are a lot of different things. Another one being education. Peter earlier on mentioned buying a movie and being able to where you want. One thing people may or may not ever come around to is that you don't actually buy a movie. When you buy a DVD, you are, that shiny silver disc is the package that the movie comes in, and what you have actually done is licensed the ability to view that movie, in that way. That's not to say that you shouldn't be able to take it everywhere you want, but you get into very thin degradations of, well, I bought that movie, can I make a copy and give it to my brother? Well, maybe that's okay, but can I make a copy and give it to my neighbor? What if I make a copy and I put it on the internet for anyone in my dorm room to download, and on and on and on? So, there's an education that has to go on as well.
All right, great. I think we have time for one more question. There's one gentleman behind you.
Hi, Kevin Davis from Variety and Content Agenda. DRM is not just a US issue, it's a European issue too. And the recent French move that basically almost made iTunes illegal in France also highlights the fact that we have a multi-front battle on our hands. Could the panel comment to the issues around the need to have proprietary DRM versus having open source DRM, for lack of a better word?
Our point of view as a content owner is we want DRM that works. And if there's one DRM that works globally, fantastic. Up until very, very recently, we only supported one DRM. We used Microsoft DRM, and that was it. If you didn't use Microsoft DRM, you couldn't have our movies. That has recently changed. We would welcome any DRM that works. I think there's value in multiple DRMs, back to the hacking issue, so you have backup plans. But at the same time, if there was one fantastic DRM that absolutely worked, we would embrace that single DRM.
To be honest, I am not the company's DRM expert, and the issues in France are specific to that and several territories, and I will actually defer to our policy experts on that and not comment.
Wow, a politician could say that any better. I think that, you know, our biggest problem with DRM is that users are Mac users. And a lot of them use Unix, and a lot of them use other types of platforms to view their content, whether it's a set-top box or it's a portable media player. And today, there currently isn't a DRM solution that works seamlessly across all those platforms. So I think until you get to the point where it's as easy as owning an HD DVD, where you just plug it in any compatible device, regardless of the manufacturer, you're still going to have those hurdles with people.
MovieLink does believe in multiple DRM. If there was one single DRM that worked and was ubiquitously available, that would be great, but that we're not there yet. Maybe we will be in 5 or 10 years, maybe not. We've supported Windows and Real since our founding and continue to. And we also continue to look at new and different DRMs that we can offer. So we're all about the evolution of this, and we definitely see it moving in some new places, and there's some interesting DRMs that will probably play out over the next couple of years.
Very good. Well, I'd like to thank our panelists for taking time out of their busy day.